set your boundaries and stay 6 foot away over here. Y'all messed up here.
All day long, huh?
Yeah.
Recuperate. Huh?
You can find friends. That's awesome.
I've been 6 o'clock, I haven't heard her say it, I think you can only remember I have seen freshman back then. Yeah, so, as I'm looking at the role, like I said, starting to be on, I should kind of quickly on that part, I do apologize, we got a little bit, I guess, behind on getting things rolling, these, maybe I should say a little busy. Not sure we all, as we will call meeting to order, we'll entertain a motion. If you want to look at read over the minutes here today. Got a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of February 20.
Maybe it's been stuck in a secretary.
Miss Amy's going to take care of it first. Unless she wants to, she's probably willing to.
No. Volunteer.
Entertain a second. Now, we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes on February 20 meeting. Anything the mayor doesn't choose to, not this is, it's just a choose or not even the mayor's only inside of the report.
Okay.
But his own equipment, I might say that.
Okay.
Mayor, you want to answer that anymore?
I couldn't really hear what the question
The
was.
question was, what committees or what meetings are not recorded now at this present time?
Just about every meeting is, if I'm not there, if I'm on vacation or something, it's not because I'm the one that's doing it. And as he said, I try to stream it with my phone so it can go to Facebook, but I'm also doing a recording with a camcorder that seems to catch your audio a little bit better and the video quality is a little bit better. So I try to post those on Facebook, on YouTube. But as far as anything that's not recorded, just about every meeting I go to, if it's a committee or a board or something for the county, I record that.
Bookmaster Ranks come to me after we had brought back together, and he and I had the same feeling about trying to move forward with help. For me, the mayor, I appreciate him putting these pieces out, but I believe we as a county would be better suited, but not better than he's doing. It would be easier for him if we took care of sending up to the city that are valuable for the video. That way we know what happens in this. You know, I appreciate these meetings and the way they go, but it's not to do with the black and white videos and what happened and other things. We live in a time where I think it's pretty capable of being done. So kind of why we took on that piece, and that's kind of where we want to start that looking going forward. We didn't have a second on that motion. To approve. Have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the February 20th meeting, say aye. Aye. So, and back on the same discussion, I appreciate you bringing that piece up there. You know, those figures, they made a change. We're a few months from February at this point, but in that case, we will bring it back up and discuss it. I did put in there at the beginning on our business. I was going to let Miss Amy there talk to us anything she wanted to talk to us about the website, how it's going. I know her and I talked earlier today, and I just get an idea. For me, how do we get more exposure to our community? You know, I think communication is. I was in town the other day, and someone asked us at school, people that I work with, live in town and are here. Didn't honestly know the website had been updated, and we're months past that update. You know what I'm saying? So they're not utilizing. I guess you know, we put that piece out for it to be a very usable piece, and pretty user friendly, and it is a good site in my opinion. So you know, one of those pieces for me is how we get our public in better understanding that it exists. So, but anyway, I'll let Ms. Amy kind of have a conversation about how it's going, what it's looking like for her.
I did make a couple points since you warned me that this was going to happen. We are able to track visitors using the Google Analytics software. Since announcing the redesigned website in March of 2020, we have had over 17,000 users and over 38,000 page views. For a monthly comparison, so back in July, we had over 8,000 page views, which I think is amazing, honestly. If I'm remembering numbers correctly, we didn't have maybe 2,000 page views with our old design. So this has been a great tool for us. Roughly, we're up to about 150 users per day, and this is all according to the Google Analytics software. We're moving several forms to the site for digital access, and the building codes and zoning applications can now be accessed via the website, filled out, and submitted back to Sam's office. The water department is also using that feature in some capacity. For the alert feature on the site, the mayor has done a great job keeping that information up to date as far as the COVID information. You can also use that, which I'm sure we're going to discuss later, to get the ordinance, the address ordinance out to the public. Committee and board agendas and minutes are available on the site. It's somewhat timely matter. Now that budget season is done, I have a little bit more time to dedicate to the website. I'm getting into the routine of updating the day after a meeting has occurred or when I have received minutes from the respective secretaries. Mayor is still recording meetings, and we're able to download those videos from Facebook, upload to our YouTube channel, and then link to the respective committee on the board page. I'll be using some high school students who need some community hours to use for scanning and uploading documents in the next couple of weeks, months. Editing and uploading to the site is actually pretty fabulous. There's been a couple of issues as far as formatting, but Revise, our company, is really easy to contact. They respond within 24 to 48 hours. We're still working through the site and updating information or misinformation as the case may be. The search function is currently not working as it should, which pointed that out as well. Contact pages for different departments are working well. I'd love to have more pictures to use on the site.
What have you heard about the search function? Because that's the biggest complaint I heard from anybody.
Honestly, Mr. Goldie and you over to that I heard directly from, and I used it myself, and it's not searching the website at all, it's searching the internet itself, and it's still not bringing back the results. So it's something I have contacted the company and waiting to figure out. Because I just did that today. I
Okay.
should have done that sooner, but I did just today.
That was my question. Is it supposed to be a site search or because when I tried to use it, it went that
It
way?
is supposed to be just that site searching.
Part of the workings of getting a new site or money.
I mean, you still navigate through, but certain things work.
Right. Be very nice to.
I mean, just people are like, I wish it would work. Nobody's complaining, things, I wish it would work.
All, both of them as well, and that makes it be nice. I think all of us enjoy it.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add to what Ms. Collins was saying on the Google Analytics search, I looked at that as well, and we've actually gotten visits from, I think 5 from India, some from Germany, so these foreign companies, probably foreign companies most likely that are looking for somewhere to locate, or maybe Tennessee Central submitted a request for proposal or something, are looking at the site, and as I said, as we've gone through this process, that's kind of your first impression to the rest of the world is our website. I think it's a lot better than it was. We're still working on it to get it even better. It's always going to be something that's a work in progress, but I'm really happy where it is. I think it's got a lot more functionality than I thought we would have at this point, and still working on getting the videos and everything uploaded. COVID and everything, dealing with all that slowed us down a little bit, but we started uploading more of those to YouTube, so I'm really happy where it is now. I know there's a lot of things that got to be fixed, but as far as where we are this early in the process, I'm really happy with the website, and I feel it's going to be a great asset as we go forward.
I mean, as you said, it's just started in March, but we're just getting really up and running from that point. So, and that's why we're having this conversation, is kind of looking at things each week, and thankfully it's running as easy as they claim it's going to run. It seems to be very simple. I myself, those videos are able to link to that quick that we're talking about even here tonight, as we go forward. We can have that quick access to go back and look at their organized files there, first go back and look at those videos. I like one thing you said, Mayor, in this case, it's kind of our banner. Like, you can look at this from anywhere. You know what I'm saying? It is our piece. You're going to be looking at Trousdale County, there's your first glance. So maybe back to one thing you asked, pictures. Are you kind of asking the community wish that they would send them? Is there a place you want to send them? Or is there
They can send them to contact@trousdalecountytn.gov.
contact@trousdalecountytn.gov? Okay. So we can probably throw that out there for them in some way, fashion too. That might help, and I'm sure, I appreciate it, Mr. Presley, I'm sure they get those videos too, our photos to you. That'd be great. Maybe put some parameters on it that way. All right. Any other questions or thoughts on the website?
Have we put it in the paper,
Have we looked
like
at-
advertising?
We have an article or something like that. Not necessarily an article, but you mentioned it. But
on the new website for the county? That was the question.
say that you have.
Maybe a while back, I don't think about it recently, it's on the game.
That's what we're kind of just trying to get, get it out there, get it used. It's new, and it is, and as the mayor said, I think it's quite improved from where we started with that part. That's a great move forward. It's still adapting, it's still being built. Not necessarily built, but added to new information going to it. That'd be great if it could, certainly. I know it's been on Facebook a few times, it's been mentioned a few places. Because I talked about it earlier today, just community awareness that it exists in the form that it exists in now. And as Mr. Buckmaster said, the search features, it goes, it'd be great when we're able to get back some information at that point and move on to understanding what we can do with that piece. That'd be great. Any other thoughts on that?
So I see Gallatin, one comes to mind, all their police cars, all their city vehicles, actually have their website on their government-owned vehicles. Not a great big crime, I think police are running strong. I've been saying to do that, it was thought, high school, it was trying from the high school. I don't know whether there's any other ones around here, maybe the news sign out there, power ground. You might get some of that stuff. And I don't know why it is, but I assume a lot of communities have their website on,
very good for being able to do such.
Obviously, that's a different agency that agree to
And that's it. It's a good thought, a very good thought to move forward with.
something that big, it would be,
Just keep that awareness out.
especially when you think about how many are there outside the county.
Great idea. Certainly is a good idea. I think that's one of our biggest successes at the meetings. We have these discussions and have good conversations and come up with those ideas as we're going forward. Appreciate it, Mr. Rose. I guess if we look forward there, we can just put that in the plate and see if we can talk to some of those departments and see what they got to think. So I guess at that point, there's no other discussion on the website, any other discussion here, attitudes, thoughts, takeaways. I think it was a good discussion. We really didn't have any business to move forward on that part. We just kind of wanted to get that awareness, we want to get updated, it's still a new piece running. I appreciate Ms. Thomas' her update on where we are in this piece. Thank you very much for the work you put into it. I know it's been a time-consuming piece too, and we appreciate that time we put in to piece of time. So it's definitely working in a place that we'd like to see in this case. So I guess next up on our business is getting back to that discussion of audio-visual pieces. You know, as I said, I appreciate the mayor putting in time he's put into come to these meetings and be willing to put these out on Facebook, you know, YouTube channels and record. But as I said, the mayor is choosing to do that on his own. And I certainly appreciate that. Not trying to say, hey, we don't like what you're doing or not. I love that you opened up that door for our community to see and have that transparent moment that we're looking at every stage. And with saying that, I myself would really look forward to this. I know Mr. Jewell, he's got some information he might share with you tonight on this piece, so he's been looking into some of those things. But I'd like to send a recommendation myself if you think that part from our community up to only the commission about purchasing and equipping a couple of our rooms with some sort of decent quality video and audio recording devices, so that it'll be a little easy. Something that's easy to run, something that's simple to set up. I guess I did notice myself, you know, we're looking here, Wi-Fi might be a bit of an issue, but there's some little hurdles we have to overcome, but as we look at those hurdles, we can probably address those along the way. And if those thoughts you think are not fit where this community is at, I understand that too. That's kind of just where I would like to see us lean is to put a little bit more of our back behind moving into some facet of having a better audio recording. I shouldn't say better, but easier on our mayor for sure. And that part, I appreciate what he's doing and trying very well. So in that case, I know, Mr. Jewell, it's been a while since you and I have talked on that piece, but I know we discussed that part of some of the updates and some of the opportunities. The last time you and I discussed, there was an opportunity, some of the money that was given through COVID in those cases might be available to be used for certain things such as that. Have you heard anyone on that piece? Mayor, or after that?
When the last days when they passed the budget, when they originally had like 5 thing uses, you had to use it for those. When they passed the budget at the end, they completely took those off and just said, here's money, spend it however you want it. So those restrictions have been taken off. And, we have been given that money, and I think we still have, is it 2023, we have to have it spent by then. So we still got time to spend it. And I think it ended up being in the general services, it was 700 something plus thousand and 273 into the urban services. We actually, when they went back into session, they restored some of the funding that would have been for the small metros and our urban services. They originally were not going to give us that, so we were only going to get general services. That got put back in, so us in Moore County got that urban services money put back in, and that was $273,000 for the urban services. But this would come out of that $700,000 plus in the general services. So depending on what projects we bring to the commission, what you decide to fund, that can be used for, because there is no restrictions on the use of that fund. They said you could even use it to replace revenue, so they took all restrictions off of it.
So it would be available, please, that's good for years.
Have we received it?
Yes, sir.
Well, Mayor, in your view, is that something worth pushing forward in this case?
I'm especially interested in the audio part of it, because as you know, there's some county commissioners that have an issue hearing some of the other county commissioners. I'd especially like to have the courtroom mic'd up and so everybody can be heard. and also have a component where if somebody comes into the gallery and has hearing issues, that there are some kind of wireless receivers that they could get and work to hear what's going on. So I'm especially interested in that. Now, some of the other things, the video, again, I'm not offended by anything you said. I always just saw this as a proof of concept to see how many people are interested in it. So the audio and the video, if we can improve that, that'd be great too. The roll call system, I'll leave that up to you all to decide. That's a county commission thing. But I seriously, my focus, if it comes down to funding part of it, would be on improving the audio, because we have had people that come to the county commission meetings and come up afterward and complain that they couldn't hear what was being said. So if we could improve that even if that's all we did, I would really stress we need to improve that part of it.
I 100% agree with you. That's one of the comments we're going to get to here as well on that part of the meeting. It's that same discussion. I guess they kind of lay together there in that part. I appreciate with that as well. As I said, it's nothing. Have been very. It's been eye-opening to me how much more of our public is discussing what's going on in our commission. They have an idea of what is going on. That's a great thing. Whether, as we look moving forward in one of those pieces, that transparent government, that piece is a great opportunity for us as a community. Watching how many people have watched and moved into those pieces has been very, very good to see. So I would 100% agree with you on that part. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've had mayors from other communities say that their citizens are watching it and talking to them about trying to do something similar. So it has been really warmly received, and anything we can do to improve that, would be nothing but a plus. But at the end of the day, if it comes down to, funding out dollars and trying to fund something, we really need to do this audio part, because that's going to be an ADA compliance issue. So that we seriously need to do that if we can.
Okay, that's a great deal to move forward with that money being available. We can set that up pretty quick and easily. And I'm not looking. I'm myself, and I know Mr. Jordan, one he was talking about the other components that were mentioned there, the voting systems and some of those pieces. Those get into maybe something we'll talk about. My view right now was more on the I appreciate what the mayor's been doing, bringing that part forward. But I would like to see it in each of our committees within under the county's piece, that we have that ability. That the mayor doesn't have. I appreciate it being there. There's somebody who wants to be at it, so we doesn't have to be at it. He chooses to go to it and make those choices to put out that video for us. And what I'm saying there in this case is it'd be very nice to, he doesn't have to come in and take his time to set up all the cameras and get that piece, and you got the one angle there from that part. We've got a pretty capable piece, and video cameras are not that expensive. So that's why I was saying, I'd like more of a recommendation that we look into audio for sure, and then maybe we can enhance and add the video piece to that to have those two pieces go together for serving our public while we're here, and B, continuing to have that more transparent piece going out. The one complaint I do hear is, even on the Facebook piece, I can't hear what you're all talking about. If they can't hear us on there, then we've probably got members in here that are not hearing, or audiences with us that are not hearing that which we're talking about.
And that's where the videos that are usually on YouTube, if they're the camcorder videos, it picks up the audio a little bit better than the camera does for Facebook through the phone. But I would just suggest that this committee come up with a scope of work of what we were looking at as far as audio-visual components, so we could use that to do like a request for proposal to see what those come in at. I believe there's some people here tonight that could give you a little bit better idea of how that needs to be structured, and if you want to recognize them. I know Mr. Taylor here has got some people with him that could give us a little bit more insight on how that would need to be structured.
That would be awesome. I didn't realize y'all were here for that piece, but thank you very much. So this is individuals that are kind of have that idea of what's going on here, what we're talking about?
Just kind of a general idea from their knowledge about, what we discussed. We had them come in and talk to the courtroom. Myself and Mr. Jewell did kind of talk to them about what we were looking at, and then told them about the meeting tonight, and told them they could come and give us a little bit of their insight, because they're into the audio-visual field. I am not. So that's why the videos don't look better than they do. So if one of them wants to come up, or any of them want to come up and speak, if the committee would be willing to hear them, I think that gives us a lot more insight about how we need to structure those so we can put them out for proposals.
I'd certainly appreciate it if you wish, or all of you wish to come up one at a time and discuss that part with us, and kind of let anybody, you're welcome to discuss it where you are, but if it'd be nice for where it's video, that we've got a couple of mics, we can bring them back that way. Is that okay?
Yeah, first of all, I apologize for not bringing a mask. I've been out working, and the time slip, actually crept up on us, and so that's why we're a little after 6 o'clock getting here. As far as this, I took a look at the original proposal by BIS that they had sent forward. There is a considerable amount of proprietary software and proprietary hardware that's involved in that. So the description is very ambiguous, to say the least, okay? But for this room, for adequate audio coverage in this room, it's just a matter of getting speakers high enough and getting enough of them so that you don't have to actually crank it up really loud, but you get even coverage, because that's where you eliminate the feedback problems. The other thing is that this is a very directional microphone. I was looking in the proposal. The proposal was calling for what's called a boundary mic or a PZM. Though that would be, as Dwight was telling me, would be a situation where the microphones would be placed on the tables, 2 per commissioner. The good thing about those things is they do exactly what they're supposed to do, but they are, like these things, they're very directional. You look away and you lose part of what's coming through it. As far as the ADA compliance side of this goes, I have installed several systems where there is you have the option of a belt pack that's rechargeable, that you can pick it up when you come in, and they have disposable earbuds. You see them at gas stations for $3.99. You can buy them in bulk out of China for less than that, and you just give these earbuds to the people that need them, and then when they're done, they're free to take them with them, just kind of like the ones they give you on an airline. Those are really handy, but they also have a Bluetooth loop transmitter that's available now, where we could run a wire around the perimeter of this room, so when you walked in and you had Bluetooth enabled hearing aids, they would immediately hear everything crystal clear in their hearing aids as well. There's a collar you can there's a collar you can wear that does something similar. It's that Bose used to make. Those are kind of pricey, and they're not nearly as effective as the little earbuds. But that stuff's available. That technology has been around for a long time, and it's not very expensive. Along with that, I was looking on there, they were calling for a 70-volt system. 70 volt would probably work just fine in here. I don't know how active this balcony is. I think I explained that to Dwight and to the mayor. If this balcony is very full, then we would have to put lots of, allow for fills in this balcony to cover up there. As far as the AV side of this, the prospectus from the IS that I did look at, it is probably 85 to 90% proprietary. And I hate to use the term veiled in allegory, but that thing is heavily veiled in allegory for a reason. They don't want somebody picking it up going, oh, they're using A, B, and C to get to D. And I don't blame them. But so I explained this to Stephen, that I would like to know what, first of all, as a citizen of this county, I want to make sure our tax dollars are spent well and not foolishly. And this proposal comes from a company out of Florida. I'd like to see a Tennessee company get it at the very least. There's several vendors, my buddy here, Joe, being one of them, that could, could handle this particular project. We could help you facilitate local bids if that would be something that you would entertain. So I guess the reason I'm here today is to get your timeline and to also find out exactly how many portions of this actual prospectus you guys would like to pick up. Do you want the whole package, which is it's pricey, but if you've got the funding, that's one thing. But the other thing is, what are the key elements? It sounds like the audio and then the ADA for the hearing assist system is probably the most key. The electronic voting is another thing. I've experienced that when you've got crowds of 300 or more in a general assembly, that really helps move things along. But here, if you're voting with 30 or less people, I mean, you could almost do that with paper ballots if you had to, in a fairly effective manner. But again, having not sat through one of those meetings, I can't speak to that other than that. If there's any questions anybody would have for us, we'd be glad to answer.
I think one thing I love that you said is, A, we're not looking to waste money. B,
yes,
we do. One of the biggest concerns I had the whole piece was about hearing on that part, and I appreciate that part. And I do want to see some kind of audio piece in my and video piece for myself, just because of how transparency made our government look, and I appreciate that. It's, people are more involved, they know what's going on. anytime we have that, then we have a better understanding of our community then. But for me, speaking only in this case, would be one of the first things I've been looking at is, and in a decently quick fashion, that's not going to be fast, but in a decently quick, we need to improve our audio. That I think is for sure got to be taken care of.
I mean, you can get to the greatest hits of what's on that proposal that I have sitting over there. You can get there, and you can do it in phases, or you can do it all in one big bite.
I think phases are definitely something that we'll be more looking at going in those pieces. Now, I know the bid system we referenced there in this case. I think more of the discussion, I don't know if you want to talk more on that, but I think with you and I discussing on that, more of the goal there is that record of that vote. I think the quickness of it being there, that record, that voting record as it was along the way. I don't even know, I realize this, we can go to a call vote each time. It doesn't take a long time, you're exactly right, but A, it would speed up that process, and B, we would have that voting record on everything if we wish to go that route. I think that is more
When we initiated this, we wanted to upgrade the sound, audio, and visual. And roll call, we saw that, and Mayor and I, and it wasn't that expensive. But the thing that I absolutely wanted was something that was going to work with it. I didn't want us to go out and buy an audio video system that wouldn't work with it. We decided we wanted is these systems integrate with each other. So we had asked roll call to give us the names of some AV companies that they had worked with that were familiar with their products and interworking with their products so that they would work together. And it was like pulling teeth to get that information out of them. It took us 8 or 9 months to even get anything back from them after several visits with them. And they keep asking us, what do you want? What do you want? Well, we want it to work. We want to talk to each other and work together, and we want a total package. Because the last thing you want is you get one company coming in here and putting audio in, and one company coming in here and putting video in, and another one coming in here and putting electronic voting in. And then when they don't work with each other, they're going to blame each other. And it still don't work. So what we were trying to do was to come up with one company that could handle it all, that understood each other's products and what they were working with. BIS just happens to be who roll call reached out to because they do a lot of the courtrooms and state buildings and things of that nature. So they were familiar with what we were trying to do because they had done it in other counties, other cities, other facilities. So that's where and how we got to where we're at. Now, it's probably 3-phase if you want to do the electronic voting and the electronic recording of your commission and have it where whatever you're voting on is in front of you on a laptop or something. That's a different issue than just getting sound where we can hear each other. But you want those systems to be able to integrate and work together, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm oversaying it, but anyway. So that's kind of how we got to where we were, but we didn't want to just take that, and we got that proposal finally, and we have that proposal, and they're frothing at the gills. I get an email from them once a month now. Won't know if we're ready to do it. At the time, we didn't know whether we were going to have the money to do it. And number two, we wanted some other companies to give us some bids on trying to do the same thing. That's why we haven't rushed into it and tried to press it to the commission at this point. And I'm glad that we do have some other folks that are interested in trying to do it for us, because I personally didn't think that their bid was out of line or was something that we couldn't do, but it was a little bit more than I think either one of us expected. I'll say that. And so that's kind of where we're at. Right now, I think we just need to try to come up with an RFP, or request for proposal, that this is what we're wanting to do. Somebody will have to help us write it, send it out to all these players again, and let them answer back. We know we need to do something. We've been talking about this for years now, and the last thing I want to do is just jump in and spend money that is not adequate or won't work with all the differences.
Well, fortunately, the audio side of it can feed, you take audio, it's just gonna feed off of whatever you're using as a centralized console. It's gonna feed the audio portion. It does that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the audio side of this thing is gonna be, it's gonna be completely independent. The feed is gonna be the feed.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's brand A, B, C, or D. It's gonna take a feed off of it and go into the system. Going forward from that, then that's where the integration is gonna be really key. And that's where this company here has a lot of their own proprietary things. It's where they've bundled equipment and software that they know talks together. And they did a really good job of hiding what they were bundling in their
I know, believe me.
in the language, because they don't want you to know. But the majority of the stuff that's in there is it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just I don't know what they were using, but we most certainly can find out. But it's not as hard as it would appear.
Well, then, everything you do, there's more than one way to do it. More
Most
than one
certainly.
company to go with, one platform, whatever. And it's not necessarily that one is necessarily any better than the other. It's just what you're used to using. Or
A lot of
whether you
ways
drive
to
a
get there.
Chevrolet or Ford, they both get you across town. So, but you just got to find somebody that you can turn it over to and say, this is what we want, make it happen. And I think now we know we have the funding to be able to do that. So that's where I'm at, is just let's move on.
So therefore, we'll come up with more work on.
We want everybody to be able to hear everybody in here, and we want everybody to be able to see who's in here, who's speaking on a feed to Facebook Live or to record it, put on the website, to archive it. As far as the roll call vote, I think that's a software issue more than an equipment issue. And I think anything that we put together is probably going to work with that, should we decide to go with that. I'm not as, it would be nice to have it, it would make the meetings flow a little better, be a little bit more organized, archived. Every commissioner casts your votes in front of you, yes, your yea or nay, it's up there on the screen for the whole world to see what and how you can vote it. And any commissioner will change your vote, they will, and then you record your vote. And then that's what it does for you. And it also has the capability, if you're voting on a particular resolution, for you to put that up on the screen here, and on the recording, so that when you're looking back, what they're talking about is right there in black and white in front of you. And you can embed video clips in it if you need to, anything like that. So that's what it would do for you. But as far as, it really has nothing to do with the sound quality and AV quality. It has more to do with the capture and the actual running of the meeting.
At that point, we're really talking about the roll calls. Okay.
But,
So,
as long as we know that what we are trying to get and buy will work with it, I don't think we need to necessarily buy it right now. I'd rather see the other system put in place and working, and then let's add that at a later date if we see that we're going to go there.
and when you speak of other things, we're talking about the audio and the issues. So at that point, we could just, you're saying that really and request proposals, try to get some proposals out of our hopefully community people with. I greatly appreciate that piece of info you've given us here tonight. As we're looking forward, that's a great start forward for us to keep looking at. And I looked at the BIS system that you're talking about, that bid you're discussing. So I do know what we're referencing here in this case. And it is a Cadillac, I guess maybe a piece that I don't know. We haven't seen one, to be honest with you. So we haven't had another proposal come in on that piece of information. So I think it'd be great if we could put that part out. I guess we could run that just through the mayors.
Everybody that's looked at this, and I think a lot of you agree with this building, this space is not going to be easy.
Oh no, this one is definitely going to be a project.
Because of the high ceilings, the echoing, just the general layout of it. That's why it's going to take, you're going to have to have multiple microphones, multiple speakers. It's going to have to take more than the cookie cutter system. It's going to have to be a custom design.
Correct, it would have to be a completely custom design system for this, but the thing is in a room of this type, it's hanging multiple speakers is not to get it loud, it's to have even coverage at a lower volume to eliminate echoes. And that is done with phase steering and lots of speaker placement. It's about the placement in this room. We'd have to analyze this room a lot, but we could definitely find those spots.
So what I hear you saying, what's upkeep of this look like?
The upkeep?
If you're having a lot of speakers, a lot of pieces, a lot of mics, what's upkeep look like? How does that work on 4-4?
The upkeep is just make sure people don't spill their coffee in it.
Yeah.
Because once it's hung, it's going to work fine.
That's what I'm asking. Is this stuff battery?
No,
That's what
I've seen absolutely nothing in this proposal that would require a bunch of batteries. At a minimum, there'll be a bunch of AA that might be needed for some handhelds.
Okay. That's the kind of question we'll do that. So that's
Right.
We're talking wiring system of some type.
But the majority of this stuff is all hardwire. And I'll go on record with anybody anywhere in the world. Copper sounds better than wireless anytime. I'll take hardwire over wireless because wireless has companion circuitry in it, which is a type of a limiting bandwidth compressor that's how it takes it, the analog signal, turns it into a wireless frequency that it can transmit. And it does, you lose telligibility. Even the highest end systems out there still lose something over copper.
We're also talking about moving this system to the downstairs room, so we would have improved sound down there. We'd have to also maybe add the cameras for that room, mount permanently or whatever. But it's not like you're going to waste what you have here. Even if you completely replace it, this can be moved to another place to be used.
I mean, I think that downstairs room is much easier to equip.
It'd be a whole lot easier.
And regarding to the camera angles where you can see everybody and everything, if you have several points of mounting points for cameras in here, if you were to have a split screen image on the web or to streaming a split screen, that would be one way of doing it. If you're going to have it where you're going to be switching from camera to camera to camera to whoever is speaking or whatever, then you'll have to have somebody operating a camera switcher. And that is something they haven't come out with that you can automate. Not yet. It's there. That would require a camera switcher, and that's why it would be easier to have a split screen. And a lot of people would agree with that. That way, you can just send one embedded signal out there that's going to have a composite of 4, 6, or 8 different camera angles on there. It kind of look like a zoom
We
meeting.
had the good audio, and just an overall video of what's going on. Say a camera mount in front of the balcony showing this area, or one to zoom in on a speaker podium wherever it's located, or one to the other side of the dial.
A good wide angle on one side where you can see the whole room would be great. With good audio.
Yeah.
As long as the good audio is there, people.
Personally, yeah, to me, I wasn't thinking multiple cameras. Personally, I mean, this group maybe look at that way, but to me, I wasn't. 1 to 2 at most is what I was thinking. I think it would cover this front area, no problem. Maybe crazy around, but I thought.
That'd be the best way to do it.
That's what I thought it would. Well, so I guess at that point, really just bringing up this discussion, maybe we can look at getting some proposals in that case. At least a discussion back on track, we can get some more proposals. So I don't think we would be any.
I think right now we just need to draft an RFP, let the committee approve it, and then send it out.
That's what I was saying. I think we can really do what that piece comes up, and we can draft that in the future and get ready to move forward. I appreciate it. Like I said, we've been off on this one. Mr. Jewelry started on this week and Mayor back.
We put a whole lot more hours into this than you can believe.
I saw some of the work you did in the beginning, and I appreciate that work. As I said, my goal is that transparency in that part. I love that piece. I really knowing where we are in the audio piece so that understanding what we're asking us to get. I greatly appreciate that, Jim. Anyone else want to do those with you back there?
One of the big concerns would be getting an actual item. Like you said with this proposal, is we need to know exactly what pieces are looked at in which phase, and then also your time frame would be very nice.
In an RFP for more coordinators.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that very much. it's certainly great to have members of our public willing to come and share those pieces with us. Thank you for joining us here tonight. I think the audio definitely needs to be very, as quick as we can look at that piece going forward personally. Mayor, you have anything to add to that piece?
I would ask if the committee could appoint one person to serve as a contact as we're going through the RFP process. That way I could speak to that committee member, get their feedback on it as we go forward, and then that way I've got kind of an idea. Instead of just shooting it to you blind, I've spoken to one of the members, got their thoughts on it, and I would suggest one, because if we go to two, then we got to do public notice and all that stuff, because it actually would have to be disclosed on the Open Meetings Act. So, and then that way we can work through the process. And I would say once we put this to RFP, I don't see it being a response period of less than a month, because we're probably going to have questions coming back from these vendors, and then we're going to have to answer the question, but share the answer with all the people that have submitted questions or proposals by that time. So that way it's as open and transparent as we can. So.
I think now, we take on that, what would be the general, we can ask you a question in this case, to a point, is that committee vote, Mayor, what would be the usual there?
If the committee would just like me to work with the chair, you can just say that, or if you want to appoint one specific, I don't know everybody's audio-visual experience on the committee. If you have one member that's got more experience than the other one, you might want to appoint that person. But it would be a motion from the committee, second, and then make an appointment.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. So I guess we would look, if you was willing to put that into a motion, if we could appoint one member, if you want to name that member as we put that forward, that would certainly be a good piece. And I think, Mayor, that's good either. We only have one person communicate. Not that we just have that one person, but that it's quicker to get that back and we can put it out to the rest of the committee members in that piece as well. Any views? Mr. Russell?
I make a motion to nominate DJ for that committee.
Got a motion for DJ Lindwood, we don't have to do.
Now, DJ will say this. In February, DJ wouldn't have had a problem with it. But as I work for Davidson County School System, so as Davidson County School System moved to all virtual, just from last Friday to this past Friday, I worked 100 hours on computers and et cetera. So, the time frame and stuff like that, I don't really know what my schedule would look like. So,
Mayor, I think just more you bouncing it off phone call was.
It'd pretty much be us working with, whether it's Mr. Taylor, since he's a member of the community, kind of structuring it, sending out, getting just feedback on it. I would try to limit their work on it as little as possible, because I don't want to take their time. But just kind of serve as a sounding board to kind of get initial feedback and see if there's things we need to address beyond that. So no, it shouldn't be a lot of time commitment from any of the committee, whoever's appointed.
Got a motion, he says he would accept it. I think when I shake your head there, so, good motion and second on that. We should second that one along the way. Got some motion and second, we appoint DJ, and then was our sort of, I guess, liaison there between the mayor for discussion here on, formulating this RFP for request proposal for our, some audio visual movements in the courtroom that we're moving forward here in this case. So, I will take, all those that say in favor, say aye, please. Aye. Any of those opposed? Motion approved. So, we will, and you know what, I think honestly, in our discussion as I'm looking at new business, we really just discussed new business within this audio providing equipment that's ensuring, and that was my goal in this case as well with that piece, that we got into that talk, that we're providing that equipment to make sure our public can hear, and our members of our system can hear. You know, when someone over here talking and over there, it's not as easy. I know my ears don't hear as well as they used to, so as we continue going with that part, I appreciate that we moved that way. I don't think there's any need more discussion there. Yes,
I
ma'am.
would like to bring it up, and mainly just for DJ, it does seem like that it's more entail than it's going to take with his schedule and stuff, that we can reevaluate that if we need it. So for your
Appreciate that.
for your sake, so, because I mean, I know you're busy.
Yeah, and if he needs to, if he has an idea or like a certain way that he wants me to send it to him, he can let me know, and we'll try to accommodate that. Because like I said, I don't want to take up a lot of his time. I just basically want to get initial feedback on what he's seeing.
I appreciate you taking that too. That would certainly be my recommendation as well, so thank you. I asked AJ to join us. He's got a pretty good technology background, as he said, in the States, and I really appreciate it. As we look forward, I guess the only new business we left would be public comments. Anybody here in the public wish to speak? If not, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion instead of adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Consider ourselves adjourned.
Say what